On strike and on the picket line, LCBO workers officially walk off the job.
Tonight, the impact on stores and Ontario customers. Good evening. It is the first strike in LCBO history.
The job action started at midnight, the dispute forcing the closure of retail locations right across the province. CTV's John Musselman is at an LCBO service center in Mississauga tonight and joins us live with the latest. John.
Well, Natalie, it's raining here in Mississauga, but there's about a half a dozen picketers here outside this warehouse in Mississauga. They say morale is good, but we have no idea how long this strike will last. Thousands of LCBO workers are on the picket line across the province after the union and the government-owned liquor agency failed to reach a deal. OPSEU, the union representing 9,000 workers, entered a legal strike position at midnight. Lines went up at this LCBO warehouse in Whitby.
It's not necessarily about not providing convenience for the public. It's about what the impact would be to those employees who have precarious work.
We're talking about $2.5 billion in revenue that would disappear from public health care and education and go into private corporations. We're not talking about mom and pop shops. We're talking about Costco, Loblaws, giant grocery chains, giant convenience store chains.
The union is fighting for better wages and more full-time positions. It's also concerned about job losses with the expansion of alcohol sales into other retail outlets like convenience stores. The union says it doesn't oppose the policy, but the province has made no guarantees employees won't be affected.
So even after 7, 8, 9 years working with the board, being a supervisor of sections, being a shift leader, all kinds of things, that doesn't actually get us any job security.
Job security is number one, so that's what we're fighting for, and that's why I'm down here supporting everyone here.
The government expressed disappointment. A strike has begun. We have engaged in collective bargaining with OPSEU in hopes of reaching a fair and equitable agreement that addresses their considerations while ensuring the long-term sustainability of our operations. Despite our best efforts, we have not yet been able to do so. The LCBO says it offered pay increases and 400 casual workers would be converted to full-time. As for customers, the LCBO says it will reopen about 32 stores after 14 days, but the stores will offer limited hours. The LCBO says its warehouses will also remain open during the strike, but delivery trucks will be met by picket lines.
I don't think so they are going to unload me.
The LCBO says it will open 5 stores across the province next week so bars and restaurants can refill their stock.
Mississauga, Toronto, London, and a few more. And basically, we don't know yet where they're going to be opening and how that's going to be in place, but it'll be interesting to see what happens.
The province says residents can still purchase beer and wine at retail locations like grocery stores. And you're looking at a live shot of the picket line here in Mississauga at this warehouse outlet. They'll be here for another hour out in the rain. Again, the deadline was midnight. That's why they're out on the picket line. The government is asking them to get back to the table to try to reach a deal, but there's been no word on that yet. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, John. Next, we turn to a disturbing update to a deadly crime. A man gunned down in a Toronto apartment building, a 14-year-old now charged with first-degree murder. CTV's Beth McDonnell joins us from Jane and Falstaff with the story. Beth.
Nathan, the first-degree murder charge against the 14-year-old is in connection with A.J. Simpson's death. The 20-year-old was shot at the apartment complex you see behind me, and I can tell you people in the community are very angry and very sad.
No one could have had nothing bad to say about this child.
There were a lot of tears, says this woman who was at the vigil for A.J. Simpson, held just days after his murder. Last week, the 20-year-old was gunned down at an apartment complex near Falstaff and Jane in North York.
He sits on the stairs, he with 2 girls, one on his left, one on his right. I always tease him about that. And they would be on computer. He's not smoking, he's not drinking. He sits there, he's a very quiet kid.
A mother of 4, she's lived in the area for the last 15 years and is outraged not only by Simpson's death, but also that a 14-year-old boy has been charged with first-degree murder.
He lived 6 years and maybe what, and then he's out on the street again. You see what I mean? How can that comprehend to any mother.
How do you think a 14-year-old could get involved in something like this?
I have no idea.
Data from Toronto Police shows the number of youth firearm arrests has almost doubled over the same 6-month period, from 54 last year to 103 this year, an increase of more than 90%. On June 24th, shortly before midnight, officers say Simpson was killed when 4 suspects in a light-colored SUV got out and fired several shots before taking off.
Do something, anything. Keep the kids them, have them play basketball, involve them in other things. The kids them don't have nothing doing. They need things to keep them occupied. Government, MPP, the community, everybody has to work together and get things done.
She believes it could have been her child that was killed, and it's time for the violence to stop. Police haven't said if this shooting was targeted or not. The 14-year-old charged is in court Monday morning. Police are urging anyone with information to contact them or Crime Stoppers. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Now back to Natalie and Nathan.
Thank you, Beth. Also today, Toronto police announced a pair of arrests following a deadly stabbing at a subway station. On the evening of June 25th, police say 2 men had an argument on a bus before exiting at Jane Station. There, the suspect allegedly stabbed the victim. 39-year-old Matthew Rumble didn't survive his injuries. Investigators arrested 22-year-old Tafai Silva Opuku Boadu yesterday in Waterloo and charged him with second-degree murder. A second suspect is charged with accessory after the fact.
And still ahead on CTV News, a 14-year-old is allegedly behind a fiery crash in the 401. The underage driver accused of taking his parents' car to go get food. The details coming up.
But first, a live look at the forecast. There's a shot of the city. Partly cloudy, still hot and humid as we approach the weekend. Slight chance of showers and some rain coming down as we speak, so bear that in mind if you've got plans tonight. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Hey, Jess.
A whole lot of green behind me, Nathan. As we saw in John Musselman's shot, there is some rain through the GTA, including areas through Mississauga, and we're seeing it in and around the downtown core as well. Pretty light in nature, and it will pass us relatively quickly, but just keep that in mind. Active weather always impacts the commute. Now, temperature-wise, it's still really warm outside. We're still in the mid-20s, feeling into the upper 30s, and this heat holds on as we head in towards the evening as well. Over towards the islands through Pearson, again, some light showers going on. We're still kind of in that low to mid-20 range, still feeling into the upper 20s. And tonight, sitting around 20 degrees, we should be at about 17. So we aren't terribly far from the seasonal mark, but it is a little warmer as we head through the overnight. Into the day tomorrow, we are still watching for the chance of some active weather, but it is not a wash of a weekend by any means. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast right now. Back to Natalie and Nathan.
Okay, thanks, Jess. And we are hoping for favorable weather as we fly into a busy summer weekend in Toronto.
From food festivals to cultural events, there is no shortage of things to do in the city. And CTV's John Woodward joins us live with some ideas. He's at the Taste of Lawrence in Scarborough. John.
Yeah, Nathan, there's tons of ideas here at the Taste of Lawrence, mostly for dinner, including jerk chicken, Hawaiian barbecue. There's even a Hello Kitty pancake booth back there. And it's not just here. There's tons of things going on in Toronto this weekend.
So we're doing jerk chicken. That's a classic way.
Jerk chicken smoked on sweet wood for extra flavor, says Rayon Campbell.
I love that's a classic jerk chicken and festival. We also have jerk chicken festival. That's a classic. I love that.
And what keeps Campbell coming back to the Taste of Lawrence? The people.
It's just the people, the vibes. You know, there's a lot of people coming that's enjoying it and be able to feed all those people and seeing a smile on your face and they come back and be like, oh, that was good.
He's one of more than 150 street vendors setting up for a major milestone at the Taste of Lawrence Festival in Wexford Heights, the 20th anniversary, where the street hosts foods from all over the world.
It's so multicultural. Like, if you even look down the line, you can get food from every, culture.
It's on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Not the only festival celebrating a milestone. Salsa on St. Clair featured Latin culture starting 20 years ago. The festival will run Saturday and Sunday on St. Clair West.
Because it's the 20th anniversary, we had to go bigger. We have salsa on Market Street at St. Lawrence Market this year, and salsa tremblant if people want to go for a getaway in Quebec later on in August.
Over at Nathan Phillips Square, Taste of the Middle East will be on from Friday to Sunday, celebrating Arabic food, music, and culture.
So it all started at Yonge and Dundas Square. I was very nervous when it all started, but now it's 7 years. I have an amazing team. We're at Nathan Phillips Square. It's just growing, and we love it.
Over in the East End, the Beaches International Jazz Festival kicks off tonight. The event will run from July 5th to July 28th. Its first event this weekend, the sounds of Leslieville and Riverside at Jimmy Simpson Park.
We're here for the next 3 weekends, Woodbine Park, Queen Street, and it's all free, and you'll be able to see over 200 bands performing.
Coming together, enjoying the jazz, enjoying each other's company, feeling very belong. And
So many sights and sounds, but for those on Lawrence, what's important is the taste.
The rain has just started up here at Taste of Lawrence, but as you can see, people are rolling with it. There are so many options for things to do in Toronto this weekend. You can't really choose wrong. That is, unless you choose to stay home. Reporting live from Lawrence Street, I'm John Woodward. Back to you.
Very true. Thank you, John. And if you're hoping to take transit to any of this weekend's events, there's a major subway closure to tell you about. The TTC says Line 1 trains won't run between St. Clair and Shepherd Yonge stations because of planned track work. Shuttle buses will operate instead. And there'll be no GO train service on the Barrie line this weekend because of planned construction. Riders will be able to hop on a replacement bus for all stops between Allendale, Waterfront, and Highway 407 station, where you can transfer to and from the TTC.
And speaking of transit, the TTC is making changes to bus service along Spadina as commute times on the route soar. Replacement buses are running until the end of the year to allow for essential work on the Spadina streetcar infrastructure. But the TTC says it is aware many of those buses are getting stuck in congestion and gridlock, especially south of Front Street. Southbound trips during the afternoon rush are now taking an hour compared to 20 or 25 minutes at other times. As a result, special rush hour route changes are coming into effect.
We don't want to keep putting buses down into that most congested area, knowing full well they're going to get trapped in there for, 20 minutes, 30 minutes sometimes, leaving people that are traveling north on Spadina stranded without any service. So this is our attempt to get that service moving.
Starting Monday on weekdays between 3 and 7 p.m., Spadina buses will turn around via Front Street and Blue Jays Way. They won't go all the way to Queens Quay unless a specific request is made to the TTC staff stationed nearby.
We turn now to a scary few moments on the 401 in Mississauga this morning.
A vehicle rear-ended a van before spinning into a ditch and catching fire, and OPP say the driver was just 14 years old. CTV's Mike Walker reports.
A traffic camera along Highway 401 shows heavy smoke billowing from a vehicle that crashed into the ditch near Mississauga Road. After provincial police say it rear-ended another vehicle on the highway. The driver, the OPP say, was only 14 years old.
I never saw him coming. All I felt was a massive hit from behind on the driver's side rear, and it just spun me around. This is where the impact happened.
John Tazanzas was on his way to work when he says he was rear-ended in the eastbound lanes just after 6 this morning. He says the force of the impact lifted 2 of his tires off the ground and sent his vehicle crashing into the concrete barrier.
I'm just lucky because my vehicle was still sticking out in the fast lane, and it could have been a lot worse than it ended up being. I could have been hit by a tractor trailer.
Police say the 14-year-old driver took their parents' vehicle out to get food and that they received multiple reports of the vehicle driving erratically on the 401. After the fiery crash, the teen driver and passenger attempted to take off from the scene, but were caught by police.
I just saw them running up the highway towards the Erin Mills Parkway, and I guess they were picked up by the OPP.
That's when Tazanza said he heard an explosion. In this picture, you can see the vehicle is charred beyond recognition.
If they'd gotten trapped in that vehicle, they'd be in a world of trouble. We're very lucky.
Suspension's all gone.
Tazanza says his vehicle is a write-off, and he's incredibly lucky to walk away from this crash with only minor injuries.
At 14 years old, it's unbelievable. No hard feelings. I'm just glad that, he escaped and he got out of that mess that he could have been in, because that thing exploded really, really nasty.
The OPP have charged the 14-year-old boy from Mississauga with driving without a license, careless driving, and failing to remain at the scene. Mike Walker, CTV News, Mississauga.
Toronto police are asking for the public's help in developing arson investigation in Leslieville. Investigators are asking the public to identify these suspects. They are accused of using a rock to break open the window of a business near Eastern and Knox Avenues early Wednesday morning. It is alleged they then used liquid from bottles and a jerry can to set a fire and cause significant damage to the interior of the building. They were seen fleeing in a small black SUV. Anyone with information is asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers. Hurricane Beryl roared ashore in Mexico today after claiming at least 11 lives in the Caribbean and Venezuela this week.
It hit as a Category 2 storm this morning, making landfall near the resort town of Tulum. The hurricane brought rain and maximum sustained winds of 115 kilometers per hour, but there was no major damage. Mexican authorities had moved some tourists and residents out of low-lying areas around the Yucatan Peninsula beforehand, but tens of thousands of people remained. Beryl weakened to a tropical storm as it moved across the peninsula. It's expected to regain strength in the Gulf of Mexico as it heads towards northeastern Mexico and southern Texas. And the impact of Hurricane Beryl is also being felt strongly by Caribbean communities here in Canada. Organizers of the Toronto Caribbean Carnival say the recovery will be top of mind at this year's festivities.
One of the things that we've learned in the Caribbean is to be resilient. And part of what keeps our resiliency going is our music, our food, our culture. This is our DNA, to rally around each other, to support each other. And if we weren't celebrating, we will not be able to recover. And we want people to celebrate, but also understand that our contributions are necessary to help the islands come back to a state of operating.
This comes as participants count down to the first main event of the Toronto Caribbean Carnival, the Junior King and Queen Showcase on July 14th. The UK's new Prime Minister got down to business today, beginning the appointment of his cabinet.
It was Keir Starmer's first day on the job after his Labour Party won a majority in a lopsided election victory. CTV's Michael Couture reports.
In his first speech as Prime Minister, Keir Starmer promised to put country first and party second in order to rebuild Britain.
This will take a while, but have no doubt that the work of change begins immediately.
After guiding his Conservatives to a 250-seat loss, Rishi Sunak accepted the blame and stepped down as leader.
It is important that after 14 years in government, the Conservative Party rebuilds, but also that it takes up its crucial role in opposition.
Even more shocking than the decisive Tory defeat was the rise of the far-right Reform UK party led by Nigel Farage, who was heckled at his own press conference. While Reform only secured 4 seats, their popular vote grew by more than 12%.
I had 2 very clear objectives. The first was for us to get millions of votes. The second was to establish a bridgehead in Parliament.
A parliament will look very different for Brits who went into this election calling for change. The day after, expectations have been tempered.
It's probably more of the same. I mean, I don't think they're going to fix anything or do a better job than the Conservatives.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau congratulated Starmer on social media, adding he looks forward to building a more progressive, fair future for people. But there is one irritant, as free trade talks between the two countries broke off in January.
So a lot of that, perhaps tension at the negotiating table will really be supplanted by a new administration with a new point of view.
The change theme seen here in the UK could continue in other European countries. France is voting on Sunday and could give a lot more power to a far-right party. Michael Couture, CTV News, London.
Voters in the U.S. will go to the polls in just 5 months' time, and today, during a visit to the key battleground state of Wisconsin, Joe Biden once again insisted he's not going anywhere.
Now, you probably heard we had a little debate last week. Can't say it was my best performance. We love it, Joe. But ever since then, there's been a lot of speculation. What's Joe going to do? Is he going to stay in the race? Is he going to drop out? What's he going to do? Well, here's my answer. I am running and going to win again.
Biden's performance at a recent debate with former President Donald Trump prompted some Democrats and party donors to question whether he can handle a second 4-year term. Following his speech today, Biden sat down for a network TV interview where his every answer is sure to be scrutinized for evidence of his competency and fitness to run for office.
Here in Canada, the Prime Minister's office has named a special advisor on Jewish community relations and anti-Semitism. Anthony Housefather says he's looking forward to making a real difference. The Liberal MP will counsel the Prime Minister and Cabinet and work with the Jewish community. Housefather, who is Jewish, has been outspoken about the rise in anti-Semitism since the war began between Israel and Hamas. He considered leaving the Liberal caucus 4 months ago after an NDP motion left him feeling isolated within his party. The motion included a demand that Canada recognize the state of Palestine.
A former member of the Trudeau government does not speak highly of the Prime Minister in a new book. Marc Garneau says Canada has lost its standing in the world under Justin Trudeau's tenure and believes the PM is an ill-prepared leader who prioritizes politics and makes big pronouncements without any follow-through. Garneau says he has little in common with Trudeau other than their politics and that the two were not close. The former astronaut's autobiography is scheduled to be released in October.
In Italy, a tourist island was on alert today after its volcano spewed a cloud of ash 2 kilometers into the air. The Stromboli volcano was engulfed in smoke yesterday as lava flowed into the Mediterranean Sea. Now, it came from an opening 700 meters above sea level. Authorities on the Sicilian island have issued a pause to the arrival of visitors to avoid the presence of too many tourists right now. And they're keeping a very close watch on the volcano, one of 4 that is active in Italy.
Coming up on CTV News, what swimmers in Hamilton need to know after toxic algae was found at a local beach.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up, it's Feedback Friday. Many viewers were surprised a man owes a U.S. hospital $600,000 after having a heart attack. More people say they've also found a black widow spider in their groceries. And not everyone is happy. If you buy a used car with cash, it could cost you more. Feedback Friday is just ahead.
It's a little unsettled now, but we are looking at a mostly cloudy evening ahead of us with the chance of showers continuing as we approach midnight. But it stays really warm out there, and we're still looking at a humidex value close to 26 as we head in towards 11 p.m. Coming up, your full forecast. And stay with us. We have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
Welcome back. Well, there has been a lot of reaction to our recent stories on flight cancellations, black widow spiders in produce, and dealers charging more for cars if you pay cash.
We also had a lot of viewers surprised that a man who had a heart attack in the U.S. is now stuck with a massive hospital bill. Here's Pat Foran with Feedback Friday. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Natalie. The man now owes a Florida hospital more than $600,000, even though he had travel medical insurance. But he was told he wasn't fit to travel. Other viewers told us there are people traveling who may be better off staying home. Richard Bishop suffered a cardiac arrest in an Orlando airport while waiting to fly back to Canada. He had group insurance and thought his hospital stay was covered, but then doctors discovered he had prior heart problems and a change in medications. He was ruled unfit to travel and now owes the U.S. hospital $620,000.
After you get a $80,000 American defibrillator, they say, oh, we're not paying.
Dr. Brian G. wrote, many patients lack an understanding of their complex conditions. Some may not know they're not medically stable to travel. Jeanette Guidi's family purchased grapes at a Walmart, and while washing them, she found a black widow spider. The grapes were from Mexico, and the venomous spiders sometimes hitch a ride on produce.
I just couldn't even believe it. I was just in total shock.
A bite from one is not fatal, but it will hurt badly.
There would be a lot of pain that would be caused from the venom.
Tracy told us, I also found a black widow spider in my grapes last week I purchased from Costco. Guess it's more common than I thought. If you're in the market for a used car, now you may see 2 advertised prices, a cash price and a finance price. In this ad, the cash price is $2,000 higher.
There's a huge incentive for dealerships to get the consumer to finance.
Mary wrote, so now if we save money to pay cash for a car, we are penalized? This makes no sense. The world has gone bananas. Ian Thompson tried for 4 months to get $1,000 in compensation for his son Nathan, who had his flight delayed and then canceled. Even though the airline admitted he deserved the money, they wouldn't pay it.
There's just excuse upon excuse and not willing to pay.
With our help, you got the funds, but Legita told us delays and cancellations are part of air travel. I was a flight attendant for 43 years and incurred too many to count without pay, I might add. And under new rules, if you're on a flight that has been delayed more than 9 hours, you should be entitled to $1,000. But an airline may argue the delay was beyond their control, so they don't have to pay you. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Today, swimmers in Hamilton may have to make alternate plans after a local beach was shut down because of concerns over toxic algae. Hamilton Public Health Services says the blue-green algae has been found at Pier 4 Park Beach, and the closure will remain until the algae subsides. In the meantime, they're advising people and pets not to swim and to wash immediately if they come into contact with the algae.
And there is some more positive news for residents hoping to enjoy the waterfront here in Toronto this weekend. All of the city's public beaches have been deemed safe for swimming. Marie Curtis Beach and Sunnyside Beach were declared unsafe earlier this week because of high E. coli levels in the water. But the latest testing has given all monitored beaches the all clear.
And it is nice to go by the beach. I was by Woodbine Beach yesterday, didn't go in the water.
He didn't go in the water.
I might not go in the water. But anyway, some people like it.
It's over to you, Jess.
It ain't for me. I'm a pool person. Like, if I can't see the bottom, I don't trust it. But we are looking at maybe not the greatest forecast to wrap up the day to go into the water that you can go into. But as we head in towards the weekend, more so for your Sunday, a really beautiful way to end the weekend. We just have to get there first. For now, it is just a soggy one as we wrap up our Friday here in the GTA. As you can see by our camera high in the sky from what you can see. The good news is not a wash of an evening, but just give yourself a little extra time as you head out on the highways and byways and the early part of our evening. Temperature-wise, it is a little cooler, not by much, but a little bit. We're sitting at 21 now as this rain kind of makes its way through. Still feels like 27, and we're still quite mild, really right across the entire central and southern portions of the province. Still dealing with humidex values in the upper 20s, low 30s. Heading in towards our evening, we're still just above seasonal. A lot of this rain tapers off as we approach about 10, 11 p.m., but we're still holding on to that. And then as it dissipates, the fog comes in place of it. But temperature-wise, we're a little closer to seasonal into that southwestern corner. Still pretty warm through Toronto, Peterborough, and Kingston. Into the day tomorrow, we start off sunny. We have some spotty showers potentially into that mid-afternoon point, but it's not a wash of a day by any means. Temperature-wise, closer to seasonal at 25, but the humidex is still very much a factor, and it'll still feel into the 30s right across southern Ontario. It's a messy system, so it's going to bring widespread, really scattered showers across central and southern portions of the province as we head in towards our Saturday afternoon. Getting into Sunday, again, very similar forecast. We have the heat that builds up and then the chance of some spotty rain. But that's what's sitting over us, literally right now. And then as we head in towards about 8 p.m., the bulk of it pushes east towards Peterborough, and then we start to see some pop-up showers return as we approach midnight. Again, not a wash of an evening or a wash of a weekend, but with all this heat kind of bubbling up, that chance of showers, we have those right ingredients, is just going to be with us. As we head in towards our Saturday, again, it starts off not that bad in the morning. Some spotty showers in and around the GTA. The heavier stuff is up towards Huntsville and Bancroft, and then it pushes east as we head in towards our Saturday night. Stepping into your Sunday, again, a really sunny start, a beautiful day ahead of us. The chance of maybe a few light showers into the mid-afternoon, but overall, we really have a beautiful end to the weekend. And even for Saturday with that spotty rain, it's not a lot. So if you do have outdoor plans, it won't ruin anything by any means. I know every weekend is a busy weekend. There are festivals and so many fun things happening every single weekend. Summer is one of my favorite times in the city for a reason, because there's so much going on downtown and right across the GTA. Temperature-wise, pretty seasonal before you factor in the humidex into the start of the day tomorrow. A little warmer as we head in towards Sunday. So say if you're heading up towards cottage country, it's a little it's got heavier rain up there, so if you are traveling up, again, Saturday, the rainier day of the two. As we head in towards the beginning of next week, and we really kind of settle in towards the month, we're looking at the heat starting to ramp up again just for Monday, and then we watch for the chance of showers as we head in towards our Tuesday and Wednesday. After that passes through, we do see a little bit of a cool down. Not cold, obviously, by any means, but we should be at about 27 for this time of year. We get there Monday, and then we see a little bit of a cool down from Tuesday right through to Thursday. So by no means is it cold, but we are losing a little bit of that really sticky heat and humidity. So maybe great for the kids at camp. I know it's been a challenging start to July in these first few days because it's been pretty warm out there. Those humidex values have been pretty high. But as we head in towards next week, things will start to average out a little bit. And then looking ahead to the end of next week, we're getting back towards seasonal. So any kind of cool down, it's just a return to more seasonal weather as we head in towards next week, but fantastic regardless for spending some time outside. Natalie, I'll send things back over to you.
Okay, thanks, Jess. Also tonight, a new era of inclusive care for those facing mental health challenges at a landmark Scarborough Health Center funded entirely by donors.
It is early bird day here at the Princess Margaret Cottage Lottery. I'm Taylor Kay, and we are at the Lakefront Cottage. Check this out in Halliburton. It is part of the $2.6 million grand prize. I'm Taylor Kay, joined with Ramona Oss, who is Vice President of Lottery for the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation. Let's talk about the early bird prize and what people can win.
My gosh, $1 million in a nutshell, Taylor. $1 million is the early bird prize. Deadline tonight, over 80% sold. We have a history of selling out. You don't want to be disappointed. Go to princessmargaretlotto.com. You can win that $1 million. And of course, this beautiful Halliburton cottage. That's just one of the cottages we're giving away. We also have a cottage in Prince Edward County. We also have a cottage in Georgian Bay. Each comes with $50,000 and each is valued at over $2.2 million.
And of course, it is a win-win for everyone. So let's talk about this cottage and let's also talk about where, the proceeds are going as well.
Sure. Well, this cottage is a stunner, beautiful open concept. The bedding, the linens, all you need is your toothbrush here. Gorgeous dock. You can jump in the lake. And of course, all the proceeds go to fuel life-saving cancer research at the Princess Margaret, one of the top 5 cancer research centers. And everyone should know that the work we do not only benefits Ontarians, it also benefits all Canadians and cancer patients globally. So really incredible work that we do every day.
Of course, buy early and win more. How can people get their tickets?
They can go to princessmargaretlotto.com. And when you go to princessmargaretlotto.com, do not forget to add on a 50-50 ticket.
And where are we at right now?
Well, our jackpot has grown. We are now at $3.6 million. That means the winner will take home $1.8 million. And that's just where we're at right now. Of course, thanks to all of you, the jackpot keeps growing.
All right, and where do people get their tickets one more time?
princessmargaretlotto.com.
Good luck.
A new unit at the Scarborough Health Network is bringing a range of mental health services under one roof.
And as CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan explains, the focus is on seniors.
Hi, Arlene. Come on in.
Thanks.
68-year-old Arlene Walker is a longtime patient of Dr. Tanya Pinto.
Up to 1 in 4 Canadian seniors will struggle with a mental health problem during their lifetime.
I've always suffered from major depression, generalized anxiety disorder, and OCD.
And like so many of her generation, Walker was initially afraid to be seen getting psychiatric support.
So oftentimes they're very reluctant to reach out for support for how it is perceived within the community, perceptions of weakness or being perceived as being crazy. In addition, what we have noticed is loneliness has become a huge contributing factor to the prevalence of depression and anxiety.
The new Seniors Mental Health Center brings geriatric specialists, social services, and more under one roof. For Walker, medication is a key to her mental health management, but for many seniors who are already on several medications, other therapies can be important, such as group counseling.
The center opened officially on June 20th, and patients are referred here through their family doctor.
Patients that don't have family doctors, they can access the center through the emergency department or urgent care clinics.
And Walker has a message for seniors in need of mental support.
I want to help people, to tell them, don't be afraid to come for help. There's nothing shameful about it.
Bell Let's Talk Chair Mary Deacon says youth mental health services have seen great success with one-stop hubs for care.
We need to replicate that way of delivering services in the community, combining inpatient and outpatient services in a welcoming, healing environment for all age groups.
The $6 million complex was funded entirely by donors, including Bell and RBC. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
With summer travel season now in full swing, Toronto Pearson is keeping up efforts to respond to potential emergencies at the airport. Take a look at this view from the CTV News chopper of a charred plane. That is typically not what you would like to see on the tarmac, but it was used by fire crews as part of an exercise this morning. The Greater Toronto Airports Authority says it takes fire prevention very seriously and has a dedicated team working around the clock to maintain safety for the public, employees, and partners.
Kendrick Lamar is rehashing his beef with Drake that played out over a series of diss tracks.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
Lamar released a music video for his track Not Like Us, which he's also performed live at a number of concerts in recent weeks. Included in the music video is a cameo from Toronto Raptor DeMar DeRozan and imagery of Lamar destroying an owl-shaped piñata. The owl is a symbol of Drake's OVO brand. Drake has not responded.
It is set to be a big weekend at the box office for familiar franchises.
Gru, I need a word with you. Your family's lives are at stake.
What? Deadline reports Despicable Me 4 is likely to come out on top when all is said and done, fueled by strong sales south of the border on July 4th. Fellow animated film Inside Out 2 is hoping for a second-place finish in its fourth weekend, while thriller prequel movie A Quiet Place Day 1 may be on track to secure the bronze.
After the break, getting ready to kick things off in Texas. Team Canada looks to advance to the knockout round of Copa America and continue to make Canadian soccer history. We have a preview.
I guess we'll see as the strike unfolds what happens.
Updating our top stories, LCBO stores across the province remain shuttered this evening as thousands of employees take to the picket lines. OPSU says members want better wages and job security as alcohol sales expand to convenience stores. The government has expressed disappointment over the strike. 5 locations will open on Wednesday to provide stock for bars and restaurants.
No one could have had nothing bad to say about this child.
Homicide investigators have charged a 14-year-old boy with first-degree murder after a deadly shooting in North York last week. 20-year-old A.J. Simpson was gunned down at an apartment complex near Jane and Falstaff. This comes as police figures show more than 100 youth firearm arrests over a 6-month stretch this year, compared to 54 in the same period last year.
Like, if you even look down the line, you can get food from every, culture.
And several highlights of Toronto's cultural calendar are taking over city streets this weekend. They include the 20th anniversary of the Taste of Lawrence Festival in Wexford Heights, Taste of the Middle East in Nathan Phillips Square, and Salsa on St. Clair. The Beaches International Jazz Festival also kicks off tonight, running through July 28th. Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app.
Temporary residents and new immigrants to Canada are being hit hardest as unemployment rises. Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg has the details in business.
Hello there. Record numbers of newcomers who are welcome to Canada to fill labour shortages are now struggling to find work. The unemployment rate for temporary residents, including foreign workers, international students and asylum seekers, was 11% in June, according to Bloomberg. That's almost twice the overall 6.2% Canadian jobless rate. And the rate for immigrants who landed in the past 5 years has hit 12.6%. Weak overall Canadian job numbers for June are seen as bolstering the case for another interest rate cut, perhaps as soon as July 24th. Canada's Teck Resources has dumped its coal business. Ottawa cleared the sale of Teck's steelmaking coal operations to the global metal giant Glencore. Teck will buy back as many as $2 billion US worth of its own shares and distribute roughly $182 million to shareholders through a special dividend. The company says it could boost copper output by 1/3 in the next 4 years, but like other miners, Teck has failed to curb rising development costs, and it ran into a cost blowout on its giant QB2 project in Chile. And finally, Americans have almost stopped buying convertibles. New registrations of convertibles in the year to February were just 0.5% of all vehicle sales. That's only 1/4 of the percent seen in the mid-2000s. The business website The Hustle says a lot of this is to do with the rise of SUVs. In fact, it says, quote, "We're losing the messy, hair flowing in the wind version of the American dream to something climate controlled and closed off to the world." The insurance industry says convertibles aren't any less safe than enclosed sedans or coupes. One observer says, quote, "I think the car has become more and more a cocoon where we go to be isolated." Let's check in on the markets. The Canadian dollar was at 73.35 US cents, down about 1/10 cent. WTI oil, North America's benchmark, changed hands at $83.16, down 72 cents. Western Canadian Select oil was at $67.10, unchanged. And the TSX Composite ended at 22,059.03, down just under 185 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
The Body Shop Canada could soon have new owners. An Ontario judge today gave the green light for the skincare and cosmetics retailer to engage with 12 potential buyers to keep the business afloat. Earlier this year, the Body Shop sought creditor protection after its UK parent company stripped it of cash, forcing it to close some stores. Any sale deal will still need to be approved by that same parent company.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
This is a huge night for Canadian soccer fans. Our men's national team can advance to the Final Four at Copa America with a win against Venezuela.
Schaffelberg in towards Jonathan David. It's David for Canada!
Canada got out of group play in the first Copa appearance by defeating Peru 1-0 and playing to a scoreless draw with Chile. They now face the Venezuelans, who won all 3 of their Group B matches. Tonight's quarterfinal game begins shortly after 9 our time in Arlington, Texas. TSN's Matthew Shinetti is there.
When we were at the pregame availability yesterday, the media, certainly from Venezuela, was feeling quite confident. I was actually on Venezuelan television last night, and they were talking about Venezuela being favorites. For Canada, this is a significant moment. Jesse Marsh comes in about a month ago. Early struggles, perhaps, in that game in Rotterdam against the Netherlands, which they lose 4-0. But since then, they draw in France, in Bordeaux, against the team now in the knockout round of the Euro. And we've seen them grow from strength to strength.
The winner will play top-ranked Argentina in Tuesday's semifinal. The World Cup champions advanced by beating Ecuador 4-2 on penalty kicks last night.
David Olmo.
At Euro 2024, Spain ousted Germany with a goal in the 120th minute of today's quarterfinal match. The Spaniards won 2-1 in extra time. They now play France on Tuesday in a semifinal matchup. It was the first time Spain had eliminated the host of a major tournament in 10 attempts.
France have done it!
In today's other quarterfinal match, France beat Portugal 5-3 in a penalty shootout after the game finished 0-0 following extra time. The French had lost in penalty kicks at their last 2 major tournaments. They were in the last 16 at the Euros in 2021 and in the 2022 World Cup final. France now plays Spain in the semifinals.
2 Canadians were in action in singles play at Wimbledon today. In one match, Mississauga's Bianca Andreescu squared off against French Open's runner-up.
Game, set match. Jasmine Paolini. 2 sets to love, 7-6, 6-1.
Andreescu lost to Italy's Jasmine Paolini in straight sets during their 3rd round match. The 7th seed also ousted the Canadian at Roland Garros last month. There was rain at the All England Club today, but the match was played under the retractable roof on court number 1. In men's play, Richmond Hill's Denis Shapovalov began his match against American Ben Shelton today, but rain suspended play with Shelton leading 3-2 in the opening set. The match has been rescheduled for tomorrow.
Coming up on CTV News, ready for the rodeo. Calgarians kick off their world-famous stampede with pageantry and parade.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special hello to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Well, this year's Calgary Stampede is now officially underway.
The parade that kicks off festivities was held this morning. The annual event made its way through the city's downtown. The festival brings thousands of visitors to Calgary every summer. But earlier this month, there were concerns the population bump from the 10-day event would push the city's water system to a breaking point. Calgary is still on the mend from a major water main break. Looks like fun, though.
Yeah, and the forecast beautiful for it. I mean, I feel like people would go out even if it was raining. It's one of those types of festivals that people really enjoy. But for them, they have sunshine. For us, a little rain to wrap up the day, but it's not a wash of an evening. And as we step in towards the rest of our night, it's pretty nice out there. We're still a little cooler right now, maybe a welcome cool down for some as this rain makes its way over us. Temperature-wise, we're sitting around 20 degrees. We've dropped about a degree in the last half hour or so. Still feels like 28, and we're kind of in that low to mid 20 range with our base temperatures, and then feels like into the low 30s with our humidex. Tomorrow, a little unsettled off and on, but honestly, it's a really nice, pretty seasonal day, and we're looking at a moderate westerly wind. Heading into Sunday, a little more consistent sunshine, but overall, guys, not a bad weekend at all.
Yeah, something to look forward to. Thank you, Jess. Be sure to join Heather Buzz tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good weekend.